Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! A few years ago, before the pandemic, my fiance and I went out of town to attend an event and booked a hotel room for the week. We went through one of those booking sites and actually got booked in a handicapped room and charged extra for it. And the sink, which had been hanging from the wall and wiggling, fell out of the wall not long after check-in. We immediately went to the manager, who informed us that the room was supposed to be unavailable due to someone harming themselves in it a week before, and immediately moved us to another room while giving me her business card and a receipt saying that we will be getting $100 off our stay due to everything that happened. I saved everything in my wallet and we continued with the stay. The day before we left, I ended up severely heat sick and ended up passing out for a few hours. When I woke up, the front door was wide open and the contents of my purse had been strung out everywhere. I panicked and ran towards the door, coming face to face with my fiancé, who was concerned. He said that he had gone to get dinner for the two of us and thought that I would be out for a few more hours, so he brought some pain relief and cold drinks to help me feel better. He was upset he had seen someone leave our room and thought that I had let someone in until I explained that I had just barely gotten up. We ended up fighting a little bit, especially since he didn't believe me until I showed him my purse, which was still spilled out all over the room. By that point, he felt bad and helped me clean up. We called a manager to report what happened. Outside of the $50 I kept in my purse, the only thing missing was a receipt from the manager that explained we got $100 off our stay at the checkout. I explained this to the manager and she said that she had put a note in the account and would be in the office the following morning at 8, which is when we needed to leave to go meet up with family when we got home. My fiancé and I were both scared and didn't really sleep that night. When I got up the following morning, we went down to the office at exactly 8 to check out and found a young employee standing at the desk. Kid was probably a freshman in college if not in high school, and as soon as I walked in to check out, this kid was acting like I was a walking turd.
What do you want?
I wanted to talk to Mrs. X.
She's not here right now. What do you want?
I was confused why this kid was acting the way he was, but I also wanted to get checked out. Do you know when she'll be back?
Probably in a few hours. Now either get out or tell me what you want.
At this point, I went outside and told my fiancé everything. He said that since we should have had a note on our room stating that we got $100 at checkout, I should just proceed with checking out despite the annoying kid. So I went back in.
What do you want?
I want a checkout, please. The kid rolled his eyes at me, which was already setting me off.
What room?
I proceeded with the checkout, but the kid was acting pretty weird. He asked me about the note on my account stating I was to be refunded $100. And I made the mistake of mentioning the break-in the day before and how $50 and a note from the manager was stolen after explaining that the sink fell out of the wall in the other room. The kid immediately grew defensive and stated that, despite what the manager said, that $100 was going towards paying for damages, and that I owed even more upfront to his cash for the damages. I don't know about you, but this struck me as odd, so I told him that I wanted to talk to the manager, who had been my primary contact through all this. He got mad and started yelling at me to either pay up and get out, or just leave and forget about it. I decided to go with the second option and sat down in front of the lobby while my fiancé finished loading up the car. And that's when I remembered that I had the manager's card with her phone number on it in case of emergencies. I started to dial the number when the kid came out and started screaming at me to give him the card and leave. His odd behavior had me even more confused as he was actively trying to take the card from my hand while screaming in my face. When I didn't give him the card, he screamed that he was going to call the police and stormed off like a freaking toddler. My fiance caught the tail end and brought it to my attention that we were late enough, so we got in a vehicle and left, passing the manager as she pulled into the parking lot as we left. I got a call within a few minutes and I explained to her everything that had happened. She thought it was weird as well, but the conversation got cut off when she announced that the police had arrived, along with a small gathering of people. She promised she would call me back and hung up the phone. When she called back, I was shocked. As it turned out, the kid never called the police, but one of the other guests did. Apparently, the room, along with several other rooms, had also been broken into the day before and earlier that morning. Someone's vehicle was even stolen as a result, and everyone who had gathered around had called the police to report it. What made it even worse was the fact that while the kid was yelling at people the same way he had been yelling at me, a pair of keys fell out of his pocket and were automatically identified as the missing keys of another guest. Turns out, this kid was working with a bunch of his friends to steal from guests and get money for anything of value. When the cop and the manager confronted the kid about it, he pitched a fit and tried to play innocent, and he told the cops to arrest the guests gathered for harassing him. In the end, the kid was arrested, and the guests were pressing charges. And I got a call a few weeks later about how the kid wanted to press charges on me and had come to the hotel demanding my contact information. But nothing happened from there. I still couldn't believe the fact that some kid turned into a total Karen when he was almost discovered for theft. So I, a 20-year-old African-American male, worked 2 jobs. I've run into 2 Karens in my life. First one when I was 19, working as a substitute custodian at my old school. We separated our grade levels. In high school, 9th to 12th grade. So when I was called in, it was to whether go to the primary or elementary. I liked working there as I still do. Making those kids laugh is the best, and the staff enjoy hearing them laugh. But sometimes they get carried away. There were no males working in a primary or elementary at the time, and I was told by my supervisor and mother, who works there as well, that they needed the voice of authority, I guess. So this was also during the pandemic. I had just been working there for a year, and all the parents knew me, either by their kids or my mother. One day during lunch, the kids got a little excited and were yelling aloud. A teacher was monitoring the students as I'm keeping watch to either clean up a mess or help them open their lunch if they couldn't. Anyway, the teacher was trying to get their attention and they paid no mind, so I had to step in. Now, I don't like raising my voice unless I know them, and I knew a few of these kids. So using the authority of my voice, I tell them to quiet down and I put them on 0, which to them is silent during lunch. No staff had a problem and were actually impressed, except for one kid who I guess called his mother. Later that day, as I head to my car after school, a woman stops me and I can tell she's a Karen. She didn't have the haircut or clothes, but her attitude was ugly. Now I have a big anger problem when someone yells at me, but I work where little kids play, so I was used to it. But this lady, I knew I wouldn't be able to get my words out. And the conversation happens.
Were you the one who yelled at my child?
I was yelling at the kids to be quiet after their teacher was trying to...
Do not yell at my child.
I cut her off. Listen, lady, I don't have the time for this. Just because your kid walks over you doesn't mean that I or everyone else will allow it. Now, if you don't mind, I'll be going now. Goodbye. I left after that, ignoring her words. A few days later, I went out for a smoke break after the kids ate lunch, and I was in my car minding my own business when I heard a knock on my window. I turn and see Karen, hands on her wrist, and I roll down my window and sigh, wondering why she was even there. Yes?
You know, smoking isn't prohibited on school grounds.
That's why I'm in my car.
Yelling at my kids and smoking on school grounds, I could get you fired.
I chuckled because I never looked at her, and I noticed our campus cop came around, and I just so happened to know the cop. He was one who never liked harassment. Anyway, the cop rolls up and exits his car. Karen storms over, and is blurring out a bunch of rambles that I never pay attention to. I finish my cigarette and walk over. "Hey, Officer X, how are you doing?" He tries to answer me, but Karen interrupts.
Never mind that. This man was smoking on school ground.
Was he in his car?
Yes.
Well, then I see no problem with it. He wasn't technically on school grounds. Ma'am, next time you harass someone of staff, we will have you arrested. Karen then turns red with anger and runs back to her car, soon returning with her phone, I assume, to record us. Spoiler, she wasn't. She soon shoves the phone in our faces and records us threatening to sue and have us fired. She then slaps herself to make it seem like now she's rambling on how she'll definitely have him fired. I laugh hard and call her stupid as I point above us, and lo and behold, a camera was there. She then turns white and walks away, never seeing her again. Me and the cop laugh about it every now and then. After a few months, we found out that she had done just every crime under the sun. Stealing, harassment, assault, child endangerment, even actually slapped a cop. She's now serving a time and her husband divorced her. Oh well. Backstory: I live in an apartment in a 20-story building. The balcony is huge and there is an empty space in between. The kids usually play cricket, sport like baseball, facing my balcony side, as there is a box space there. The ball often gets stuck there and I get kids coming to retrieve it. Although it is very annoying, neighbors are supposed to act unusually friendly to each other here. And if you tell them to leave, even if they come abruptly without invitation to your house and you haven't even seen them before, you are said to be the jerk. In this situation, I politely explain to the kids that it's impossible for me to reach there, and they will have to get a new ball. They usually understand and we part ways. But as you can expect, I encountered an entitled parent today as I'm writing this post. She was obese and in her 40s, with short hair dyed blonde. She was wearing black glasses, and I know what you're all thinking about. The definition of a Karen. So I'm 16-year-old male and was in my Japanese online class today when I heard the bell. I went to answer it and saw a woman I did not recognize. I opened the door thinking she needed help with something, and that was my first mistake. She said to me in a condescending manner, "My son was playing cricket down and his ball happened to come to my house. Get it for him." I was immediately put off and did not want to entertain her, but still kept my patience and told her that this happens quite often and the ball lands in the empty space, which is dangerous to crawl into, and hence, the ball cannot be retrieved. She says,
You are the reason my son is so sad. Do you really want him to be this way? What kind of a heartless human does this?
I then called her son, who I hadn't noticed yet. He was really embarrassed and hiding in a corner, and looked like he wanted to die to get out of this situation. I immediately knew what kind of controlling parent she was and how terrified he must be of her. She probably kept count of the cricket balls he has, and whenever he comes back with one less, this is what goes down. I felt bad for him. She then told him to enter my house and get the ball from the space. Everyone's house has this just below theirs, so she knew how dangerous that would be. I could also see how reluctant the kid was at moving and really did not want to go. When she yelled at him again, he had no choice. This is when I had to interfere and tell her that this is my house, and if she puts a foot in, I will break it and call the cops. She then called me a jerk neighbor and that she had bought the ball. She said she would sue me for theft for the same reason. I scoffed, and she then tried to shove me. I did not move, and this is when I lost it. And I pushed her with enough force for her to topple, but not get injured. This is when she ran away crying and pulling her son, who was trying to hold back a laugh, saying that it was not over and she's going to call her husband and then the cops to deal with me. But I never saw her again. I might have been wrong in pushing her back, but man, did it feel good. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.